Hello, my name is Thomas Gant. Yep, actually, that's my real name. Not actually Flesh Simulator. Now, you might look at me standing in front of you right here and have some questions. Namely, why are you telling us your name? Don't you want to keep that private? Well, I sure would have loved to do that. But unfortunately, a very, very unlucky individual went on a doxing campaign against me after he tried to intimidate me, after being given by name, presumably by someone who knew me. To begin in media res, I was thrust into a position of either getting to show mercy against someone being irritating or vaporizing him instantly. I, of course, chose mercy. The problem, however, arose upon the display of a personality trait that will be of great relevance to the latter half of this video. The trait in question is mistaking mercy for weakness. You see, what was originally a conscious decision on my part to spare a mentally defective upper-middle-class fetal alcohol syndrome 27-year-old Maoist man-child from massive-scale social humiliation, instead of just vaporizing him on the spot, was immediately repaid with actionable threats towards my family and countless Class 1 misdemeanors in the state of Virginia. You see, this is because he misunderstood the fact that I didn't to mean that I couldn't. And he thought, oh shit, if he can't do it, then I'm gonna go after him. Now, going after my family is something for which mere obliteration will no longer suffice. While I could have squashed Noah like a bug there and then, I instead chose to act like a wounded antelope to draw out the vultures. And now it's time to begin to tear the wings off of them. This conflict has had some absolutely nasty blowback from Noah, completely exposing him in all of his, glory to the world. But the reason he persisted here is not that he really thought he could win, but rather that I think he was willing to martyr himself if it meant making it a Pyrrhic victory for me. He clearly has no sense of self or self-esteem, and as a result, the attacks on him are immaterial because what he sustains himself with are ideals. Right? His leftist political views and social connections, his Maoist economic theory. I called my shot 3 days ago. I said that I was going to old boy you. Not like in the literal sense, I'm not making you commit incest, but in the abstract sense. I wanted to find a way to make you damage the only thing that you valued. I made certain that your senpai, Hassan's Twitch mod, King of Grill Pilled, a lovely Twitter community with the sole purpose of doxing and harassing people who aren't left-wing enough, frequent collaborator of Microm PA, the 300-pound, formerly alt-right, e-girl sex blackmailer Jake Chinatown. It made sure he was aware of this drama. I made sure that you could take the lead early. I kept making increasingly empty threats while sitting on a bigger and bigger pile of your information. Now, why did I do this? Well, because I wanted to demonstrate to the broader world what this specific little clique of communist homosexuals that you belong to do when they think they see someone who is vulnerable and who cannot fight back. And boy, oh boy, did you all deliver, in spades. Why? What did I say earlier? Because they mistook mercy for weakness. These are people who intuitively cannot comprehend the idea of seeing someone who ostensibly used to be more powerful than they were, who's now vulnerable and helpless, and not ruthlessly tearing them apart. Not so big now, huh? Here's the problem. Just because I wasn't going hard as hell, full power, using every low blow possible, that doesn't mean I wasn't able to. I have had everything on you this entire time. Let me put it this way. You know your old high school Twitter account, right? The one that you changed the name of the other night and then now deleted. That's the one that uses your Otter42 email. Oh yeah. I'm green screened into your childhood home right now. That's why it looks familiar. You picked a fight with me that I repeatedly warned you that you were not going to be able to win. I asked you a bunch of questions about your OPSEC hygiene. You thought you were going to own me with that copy pasta you kept trying to make into a meme. The copy pasta, for the record, described exactly how I found you. I made the mistake of giving you a half-measure response. I showed you mercy. You bet me that I couldn't figure out who you were, repeatedly, and I refused. You went around telling people, see, look, he can't actually do it, guys, like, he doesn't know how to. The correct response here would have been to immediately just air you out in full. But instead, I just posted this.
Dream a little dream about a girl so real. When she dawned
a crop screenshot of your Letterboxd profile picture to let you know the jig was up, without having to share your fucked up life and fetal alcohol syndrome face and just general depressingness with the world. I fully expected it to quietly end there. Instead, you know what you did? You immediately went on the offensive. You started posting my full legal name, whatever, that's out there. You started posting pictures of my family members that you pulled off of their Facebook pages. That's an issue. You threatened to send them a love letter. Let me quote Blue Velvet back at you, Noah. You were fucked forever. I couldn't just lash out back at you, you're immune to shame. The only way to destroy you was to get you to damage the only thing that you cared about. I told you I was going to old boy you, Noah, no tears. I have built a monument to your failures. It is the website in the description of this video. Allow me to explain the premise. It's just a simple click-through counter. If this video made you like Hassan and his orbiters and this general community less than you did before, click the link. It will subtract one Izzat from Hassan Piker, and it will let everyone know who did it. As this number increases, you get to see in real time the number of people that you have turned away from your own movement. And now, I don't need to do the green screen thing anymore, so I'm gonna go wash all this fucking shit off my face. Okay, whew, that feels much better. Funny stuff aside, so have you ever wondered how so many people can have the seemingly impossible and nonsensical sounding experience of switching from left wing to right wing without really changing any of their positions or their beliefs? Well, there's a mechanism for that, alright? You know that. We all do. It keeps happening to people. The bigger question, though, is how. And a lot of people act like it's really because they stayed the same and the left simply got more radical. In my opinion, however, this isn't really quite what's happening. It has more to do with people's changing understandings of group cohesion, right? So it's kind of a basic principle of pop psychology, a phenomenon that's pretty self-evidently a thing, but is remarkably hard to empirically prove, Freakonomics, whatever, that most common lines of attack towards an outgroup typically are more applicable to the in-group. So whether this is due to subconscious projection or some sort of fast inverse square evil floating point bit hack, the part reveals the whole type of recursive reveal of their own worldview remains to be seen, but this isn't really relevant to the point of this. So in other words, the right wing smears the left as oversensitive, moralizing, scared pussies. The left wing smears the right as these stupid, brutish liars with no ability to understand the perspectives of others who don't care if they make the world worse as long as they get what they want. We can see why this is funny. Now, while I'll leave the obvious self-report from the right for a different video, the bit I want to dig into more is specifically the implication coming from the left's constant accusations of the other side lying. See, genuinely, they cannot conceive of a group of people not treating the truth as malleable. Now, as a result, when they see something that they disagree with, the most obvious conclusion is, oh, look, see how much they're lying? So, modern socially progressive leftists lie. They lie a lot. This is by necessity. You see, contrary to prior communist movements, which were primarily fairly socially right-wing, the modern socially progressive left is significantly less concerned with economic policy and much more concerned with the goals of its constituent identity groups. A lot of these groups, at least the left-aligned subsets, have something that you cannot bring up, alright? Issues that they feel are either so intractable or so optically bad that the only solution is suppression of any discussion. Because of this, there is a massive taboo on acknowledging certain realities, even if relevant to the discussion at hand. Like what realities? Well, a good sort of heuristic for this is if you ask ChatGPT and it freaks out and lectures you and won't give you a clear answer, you're probably on the right track. Now, if I must get explicit with it, the sexual abuse rates of children by homosexual men. Anything regarding race and IQ. Asking why so frequently gay couples only adopt boys. The fact that in the city of Washington, D.C., 97% of homicides are committed by black people. Questioning the motives of the trans community, love bombing 14-year-old autists and trying to get them on HRT as soon as possible to make them hot. The widespread Somali fraud, crime rates of African immigrants, Muslim refugee rape rates, UK rape gangs, affirmative action and DEI hiring practices leading to incompetence. The fact that the Two-Spirit identity was created in 1990 by a homosexual white pedophile, not an indigenous American. You get the point. These are all concrete, real things. They're factually, objectively real things. But most of these are also things without a clear solution, and as a result, there is a massive social taboo about acknowledging their existence at all. The way these are treated is to dismiss any mention of them with a, wow, I cannot believe you are talking about that. And for a while, it sort of worked, right? These topics have largely been kept outside of the Overton window of polite/professional discussion. But at the same time, people have eyes, even the people on the left. Everyone knows, deep down, exactly why they refuse to even entertain discussion of these things. And as such, adherence to repeating things that everyone, to some degree, knows are false, or at the very least there's a deep rabbit hole there, in the face of them being brought up by outsiders, is the most important social ritual of the modern socially progressive left. This is also why, if you question or even acknowledge any of these topics, they react like the aliens in They Live when they realize that Roddy Piper can see them. To everyone in the coalition, if you're willing to break on that thing, you're willing to break on their thing. And at that point, the only solution is for you to be destroyed. This is what I've been demonstrating to you for the past 3 days, or I guess allowing to have been demonstrated upon me. I'll say 2 pairs. What do these have in common? It should be pretty easy. Pair 1, insects and airplanes. Pair 2, animals and trucks. Now, in case the answer wasn't obvious, pair 1 uses an exoskeleton, and pair 2 uses an endoskeleton. I began to realize that the core misunderstanding, for me, was that I assumed that the most fundamental underlying principles of the movement, ostensibly things like egalitarianism, kindness, wanting to help others, mercy, were the load-bearing structure of the broader left coalition. Sure, there might be taboos and orthodoxy in a party line in the name of solidarity, blah, 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 but like the bones of an animal or the frame of a truck, these underlying beliefs would be the thing that can ultimately be relied upon for strength and cohesion when shit really hits the fan. This is, as many of you may already know, a rather naive understanding. The load-bearing structure of the left is not a skeleton, nor is it a steel frame. The left is structured more like an airplane or an insect. This enforced solidarity on dozens of different pet issues and pain points functions as like the exoskeleton of a bug, containing its structureless goopy organs, like the exoskeleton of a bug containing its structureless goopy organs. It functions as the carefully stressed aluminum skin of a jetliner, this impermeable barrier strong enough to withstand gale force winds, but still light and agile enough to fly. The danger with this, however, is that comparatively minor external damage is now a potential point of catastrophic compounding failure. Like a single crystal placed into a supersaturated solution. You see, if you pierce the side of a truck with a forklift tine, you don't even really need to fix it to keep driving the truck. If you poke a hole in the side of an airplane, you need to rebuild the airplane. Completely. And now, I spent a decent amount of time being very confused by the refrain of, oh, so just because people are being assholes to you and harassing you constantly and lying about you, you're just going to change your core beliefs, huh? Because to my mind, nothing whatsoever changed about my core beliefs. I simply lost patience and inclination to play along with the face-saving lies of people who were trying to, get me to relapse, calling my sponsors and getting them to drop me as a client, calling the employers of my family members, trying to get them fired, accusing me of being a pedophile, just completely baselessly. Which is also very, very, very funny, considering, how our boy Chinatown Jake got his start learning how to dox people. But that's neither here nor there. Viewing it through the insect animal lens, though, it becomes a lot clearer. Like, the core belief of someone like this is don't acknowledge the holes. That's it. No egalitarianism, no kindness, no wanting to help others, no mercy, no forgiveness, no anything. It's just a basic survival mechanism, right? This coordinated mass-scale gaslighting on the pet issue of every single coalition member. Nobody gives a fuck about any of this. What they care about is their issue. And they know that the only way that they can successfully push their issue, to the degree that they want their issue to be pushed, is to unflinchingly defend every other stance of the coalition. Some of the stances are retarded. The people making this criticism towards anyone who breaks rank do not really have core beliefs in the same way that you or I do. What you or I consider a core belief is something basic, something internal, a force, something hard to articulate, a warm light. To them, a core belief is a mantra to be relied upon for strength, a rigid rule to shelter yourself under, knowing other people are using the exact same shelter. This is why divergence by even 5% is treated as an extinction-level threat and stamped out as such. If you go to a natural history museum, you can see skeletons of mammoths and megalodons from millions of years ago. You can't see the inside of a bug. Unless it's in a crystal.
Piano was edited by Hearst and Michael Chertoff's cousin with the hit piece, and Chertoff ran DHS, and Giuliani destroyed the steel port to be tested and had his emergency command center in Building 7 after the 93 bombing proved that the towers were a target, and he moved it there anyways, and the put options were never